guys, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel and to another episode of Debt Confessions. Today we're going over Cecilia's numbers. She is 28 and she is a student, part-time retail worker, and gig worker, and she is in quite a bit of debt. But before we jump into it, I just want to remind you, if you want to apply to be featured on Debt Confessions, then the link for that will be in the video description for this video. Also, if you like the spreadsheet I'm showing or you like the way I talk about budgets and you want to work with me directly, the link for both of those will also be in the description. Okay, so like I said, Cecilia is 28. She lives in Denver with her partner, but they have separate finances. So she is a student. She is currently going to grad school and she has some student loan debt that she's already accumulated, and she expects to accumulate additional student loan debt. She is working part-time while she's in school, but her income does vary because she does gig work, and so that varies month to month depending on what work she can get. Her gross income is around $38,000 per year, but her take home is $29,000, so that averages out to about $2,400 a month. As for debt, she has a little over $18,000 of credit card debt, which we will definitely talk about, as well as around $17,000 of student loans that she's already taken out for grad school, and she expects to accumulate an additional $20,000 of student loan debt by the time she graduates. She does have around $7,000 in her savings, which is great, and she does budget, but she said the system that she's using isn't really working for her. One of the things she did mention in the notes in her submission to me is that when she's trying to budget, as soon as money comes in, she wants to assign a job to it, and because her budgeting system isn't working very well, she often makes like an extra debt payment, and then a bill comes in that she didn't plan properly for, and so that ends up going on a credit card, and she's just kind of stuck in this cycle of trying to pay down her debt but her budget system not working, so then she accumulates more credit card debt. And I can totally relate to that. I had $30,000 of credit card debt that I paid off back in 2021, and I haven't been back in credit card debt since, but when I paid it off in 2021, that was 10 years in the making of getting in and out of credit card debt. So I totally understand what it's like to be in that position, especially when you're in school. Being broke and accumulating student loan debt while you're in school is really, really difficult. And it makes you kind of feel like no matter how far you try to get ahead, you're always behind because you know you're getting just further and further into the hole, and you're making this investment in yourself that you hope is going to pay off. But still, it's a very difficult time financially to be in school. We'll get into her expenses in a minute, but for now, she said she is investing $5 a month, which she said is not a lot, but it's something, and I love this so much. If you've watched any of my content before, you may have heard me talk about this, but my philosophy is even while you're in debt, even while you're in high interest debt, I think it makes sense to do something that I call practice investing, and that is investing a very small amount every single month that's not enough to really impact your budget or impact your debt payoff in a significant way, but it gets you in the habit of investing. So at the point that you are debt-free or have paid off your high interest debt and are focusing more on investing, you've already got that investing muscle built up and you've already practiced, you already know how to invest, and all you have to do is change the number from a small number to a larger number every single month, and it just makes that process go so much smoother. I think it also increases the likelihood that you will start investing once you're ready to, rather than get stuck in this mindset of, well, I don't know the first step to invest, so I'm just not going to get started. I'm going to put that off for down the road. So I'm really glad that you included that on here, and I'm really proud of you for investing $5 a month. Every dollar matters, and you're building up that investing muscle. All right, so what are her biggest financial goals? Number one, she said she wants to pay off debt. So we'll talk about all her debts and get into all that when we talk about the budget. She also said she needs to save up for upcoming school quarters. So basically, she's taking out student loans for her tuition, but there's a $2,000 gap per quarter, so she pays that in cash out of pocket per quarter, and so she has to save that up, and that's one of her goals. She said she has very little in the way of retirement savings, and she'd love to retire at some point, so she wants to ramp that up. She wants to save for travel. She has a trip coming up in 2026 that she knows about that's going to cost her at least a few $1,000s, so she wants to plan for that. And then she said, although she has a paid off car that she drives now, she thinks that it will need to be replaced in the next year or so, so she wants to plan for that as well. So she is trying to do a lot on a very small budget. It's not impossible, but it's going to require careful planning and consistent execution to pull off. So let's take a look at the spreadsheet. All right, this is an example month of her budget. So like we talked about, she brings in around $2,400 a month. Now, one of the things that she mentioned is her income is variable, which makes it hard to budget. So one of the ideas I had for her is to have two separate checking accounts, one that your paychecks go into and one that you pay your bills out of. And each month what you do is you set like a salary for yourself, basically, maybe $2,400 or whatever amount she picks based on how much she's kind of bringing in on average the past few months, and pay that to herself consistently every month, regardless of what her income is. So if she has a bigger month where she makes $3,000, she doesn't pay herself $3,000, she pays herself $2,400 and leaves the other $600 in that checking account. That way, if the following month her pay is only $1,800, then she can still pay herself that $2,400 and not end up putting stuff on her credit card. So that's one way that maybe she could try to have more consistent income, like treat it like a business that she's running where she's paying herself a set salary. And I think that also could help her be more consistent with budgeting, knowing how much she's going to bring in for the month, and instead of having it be like an unknown, then she knows the amount she's budgeting off every single month, and she can get into more of a routine of how she's allocating those funds. All right, let's pop down to her expenses. They are generally reasonable except for one category, which she noted herself. She knows she needs to cut back on. So let's take a look. First of all, her rent is $700. I think that's really reasonable considering her income. Utilities and Wi-Fi is $135, also very reasonable. Subscriptions is $120 a month. She didn't break down what this is, but this is high to me. I'm sure there's something in there that she could cut out. I mean, if one of these is like an expensive gym that she goes to regularly and helps her stay healthy and in a good state of mind, then I wouldn't necessarily say it's not worth it to pay that, but just evaluating everything in here, and if there's like Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus, like maybe cutting one or two of those out and just watching one at a time, and then when you're done with one and you watch all the shows you want to watch, cancel your subscription or pause it and then sign up for the other one, and just see if you can play around with this at all to cut this back a little bit. Groceries and household is $200 a month, which is extremely reasonable. However, eating out, she said, is around $500 a month. So this is backwards to me. In my opinion, groceries and household should be higher than eating out. Eating out is very expensive right now with inflation. Cooking at home is what she should be doing more of. So I know it's hard when you're like in school and your friends want to go out and they want to go to happy hour and you want to go out with your partner and like have a night out and it's fun, and I get that in your 20s, like you want to live life a little bit, but maybe finding a little bit more balance here would be better. For my family, we spend between household and groceries around $1,400 a month, and that is for, we'll call it 3 people because I have 2 toddlers. So that's around $466 per person each month, and she's at $700 for these categories in total. So if she could cut this back by maybe like $200 a month, I think that would help her budget a lot. Budgeting is all about balance. We don't want to cut this back down to 0 and not leave any room for fun, but we also don't want to leave it too high that it impedes us making any progress. All right, health insurance, $120. Generally, that is what it is. I mean, that's not very expensive for health insurance, so that's great. And then she didn't include these, but I added them in because everyone has these expenses and they just probably forget to budget for them, and that's what can cause problems in your budget, is if you forget to budget for a category that you regularly spend in. So personal spending, $50 a month. This could be like haircuts or clothes or makeup, stuff like that. And then $50 for miscellaneous, because there's always those miscellaneous expenses that come up. Especially if you're not funding like a bunch of sinking funds, I feel like having a miscellaneous category that can cover like an oil change and stuff like that is a good thing to have. Okay, so in terms of her debt, she's got 3 credit cards. The minimum payments are $129, $67, and $29. She did say for this 3rd credit card, it is at a 0% interest rate right now, which is why the payment is so low, but that's a promotional rate that ends next February. So that payment will likely go up at that point. And then I put her student loan payments at 0 because she doesn't have to pay them while she's in school, but she'll have to start paying them once she gets out of school. So right now her minimum debt payments are around $225. Let's take a look at the debt balances. So I'm just gonna pop over here to the debt payoff tab of the spreadsheet. Now I just put in her same balance for the whole year because I only have her May balances, but obviously, you know, going forward, she would update the new balances each month. And if you purchase this spreadsheet, it does come with a detailed video tutorial. It explains how to input numbers on each tab of the spreadsheet. So the first credit card has a balance of $401. That is actually her lowest balance and her highest interest rate at 29.9%. Her next credit card has a balance of $11,000 at 24.9% interest, and then her third credit card has a balance of $7,000 at 21.9% interest. So the order here is highest interest rate to lowest interest rate, and that is the order I think she should try to attack them in. That is called debt avalanche, where you pay from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. Another popular way to pay off debt is debt snowball, and that is paying lowest balance to highest balance. So they're not quite in that order here, but the lowest balance credit card also happens to be the highest interest rate, so I would 100% start with that one. Now, one thing I recommend to her, and just disclaimer, this is all just educational and theoretical, none of this is actual financial or legal advice, but one thing she might want to look into is a debt consolidation loan, also known as a personal loan, if she is willing to put away her credit cards. I know from personal experience that there is a risk in doing this, because if you do a personal loan to pay off all your credit cards, what happens is you take out the loan, they deposit a chunk of cash into your checking account, and then you have to pay off your credit cards yourself and then not charge those balances back up. I'm sure there's different loans that function different ways, but this is how the personal loan that I took out worked. They deposited just 30 grand into my bank account, and I used that 30 grand immediately to pay off my credit cards, and then put them away and did not touch them until that loan was paid off. So the risk of doing this is if you take out the loan and then charge the credit cards back up, then you're really in trouble, because you're still having to pay your credit card payments, and you also are locked into this personal loan that has a minimum payment every month. But the benefit of doing a personal loan is sometimes you can get a much lower interest rate than you're getting on your credit cards currently. So obviously, like, one of her credit cards is 0% interest, but that's promotional and it's gonna end in less than a year, and then she'll be back up to like a 20-something% interest rate. So if she's able to qualify, she can take out a personal loan. When I took it out, I think the interest rate I got was around 12%, and my credit cards had been in the 20% range. So it cut my interest rate on my credit card debt in about half, and then I put my credit cards away and was able to just pay a consistent monthly payment, not get into further credit card debt, and just pay down the personal loan to get rid of my credit card debt. So when we did it, we used SoFi, so I'll link them in the video description if you want to check it out for your own personal loan. I'm pretty sure if you use my link, you get like $200 or $300 cash back when you get approved for your loan, but I'll link that all down below. All right, so let's pop back over to the budget and see what extra money she has to work with and where it should be allocated. So with all her expenses in there, her $5 a month for investing and her minimum credit card debt payments, she's got $95 left to budget, which is tight. It's super tight. I did add an extra $100 in expenses that she hadn't included in her budget, but either way, it's pretty tight. Now, let's say she can cut back her eating out down to $300 a month, so I'm gonna change that. That gives us a little more wiggle room, so $295 a month. First of all, let's look over at the savings goals. So she needs to save up $2,000 per quarter for her tuition. She does have $4,000 saved, and I'm not sure how many more quarters she has left till she's done with school, so I'm not sure exactly what we need to put here, but at a minimum she's got to be putting something towards the tuition savings, so let's just put $100 to put something there. For the car, she thinks she might need in 2025, so that's like in the next year, so I think we have to put at least $100 here. Obviously $1,200 is not going to buy her a new car, but at least we're putting something there, and that leaves us with $95 to budget. And if she puts $95 a month into her vacation fund for the next 2 years or 2.5 years, that should give her enough for her vacations. She said she expects it to be a few $1,000s, and that would get her to like $2,500 to $3,000. And that leaves her left to budget with $0. This is why she's running into this problem when she makes extra debt payments. She says she's trying to pay at least $200 extra per month to her credit cards, and there's really no room in the budget to do that if she's contributing to these savings goals at all. You know, I'm just guessing at how much money needs to be set aside for each of these things. It may be significantly more too. So it doesn't seem like there's money to put extra towards her credit card debt at this point with how much money she's bringing in. Now, a few things to keep in mind. One, if you don't accumulate any more debt, obviously the student loans are going to accumulate because she's in school, but let's just talk about the consumer debt. If she doesn't take on any new credit card debt and just pays her minimum payments, each month she will be in less credit card debt than the prior month because she's not accumulating new debt and she's paying off her debt very slowly, but she is paying it off. So that's something to think about. I think more of her focus while she's in school should be not accumulating new credit card debt rather than focusing on paying extra to the credit cards. Obviously, if her income increases a bunch and there's room in the budget on a consistent basis to put extra to the credit card debt, then that's great. But I think more of her concern right now, while her income is so limited while she's in school, which again is a temporary phase, like she will graduate and have a lot more time to work, and hopefully will be able to leverage her degree to earn a much bigger salary. So I think if anything, if she can stop using the credit cards and just pay the minimum payments and maybe like a little bit extra here or there if there's extra income, but really just focus on not accumulating any new credit card debt, I think that would be a great place for her to start. I think it would also set her up for success in another way, because if she gets in the habit of not relying on credit cards now while she's making less money, then when her income increases after school, she'll already be in the habit of not using credit cards, and that will allow her progress on paying off her credit card debt to just skyrocket. Something else she might want to consider is consulting with a student loan expert to come up with a plan to pay off her student loans at the time that those become due after graduation. So it never hurts to have a plan ahead of time and know what to expect. I feel like knowledge is really powerful, especially when it comes to student loans. And so knowing what your options are and what your plan is going to be after those student loan bills start becoming due would be really beneficial to her. I've talked about Student Loan Planner forever. They are student loan experts that book one-on-one consultations where they review your student loans, your income, your debt, your goals, everything, and they come up with a plan for you, recommend which plan to enroll in for student loan repayment, especially if you have federal student loans. These laws are complicated and constantly changing, and there's important paperwork and deadlines and things that need to be met, so they stay on top of all of that and come up with recommendations for the best way for you to pay off your student loan debt. I will link them in the video description as well. They, like I said, you can do a paid consultation, which is a flat fee amount, or they have a ton of great free resources. They have a great podcast. They have great blog articles on their website. So they're just a wealth of information. So whether or not you want to book with them, I definitely recommend you check them out. I think also what she should really focus on is getting good at budgeting. This is a great time to hunker down and focus on tracking every single dollar. That has been, I would say, the number one most important thing that I did differently once we started paying off debt and getting our finances in order for the first time in our lives, like at age 32, was tracking every single dollar, making a plan for every single dollar before the month started, and then tracking it throughout the month, and then reviewing it once the month was over and adjusting as needed. The other really important thing that she has on her side is time. She is in her 20s, she's 28 years old, and she has her whole life ahead of her to figure out her finances. So although her budget is very tight right now, she does have decades to right-side her finances, pay off her consumer debt, and start building a bigger savings and invest for retirement. So that is it for this episode of Debt Confessions. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much to Cecilia for sharing her numbers. It takes a lot of courage to put your numbers out there for the whole world to see. So as always, please be kind in the comments. Once again, if you want to apply to be featured in Debt Confessions, that'll be linked below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, then hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and I'll see you guys soon in the next video. Bye.